Hey there, everyone. Welcome back to Heartstrings and Scandals, the channel that brings you the most riveting and intense relationship stories that are sure to keep you hooked. Today's story is one that dives deep into betrayal, deception, and a final twist that you won't see coming. If you love drama, heartbreak, and ultimate revenge, you're in the right place. Hit that subscribe button, turn on your notifications, and let's dive into today's story. Cheated wife refuses to tell her best friend she's married, so I broke up with her. Buckle up. This one's a wild ride. 1. How could she keep such a massive secret from her best friend? I thought I knew her better than anyone. 2. I wasn't prepared for the answer when I confronted her. And once the truth came out, there was no going back. 3. When I told her I was leaving, she didn't even try to stop me. But was that the end of it? Not even close. 4. She lied about something that meant the world to me, and the consequences were devastating. Ethan, 31. A calm, level-headed software engineer who believes deeply in loyalty, trust, and communication. He's married to Sophie and thinks they've built a solid relationship, until he uncovers a secret that changes everything. Sophie, 28. Ethan's wife of 6 months, a marketing manager who has always been the life of the party but with a hidden side. She loves attention and maintaining her carefree image, which ultimately leads to the crumbling of her marriage. Tara, 29. Sophie's best friend from college, who has never believed in settling down or getting married. She's fiercely independent and holds a strong influence over Sophie's decisions. It had been 6 months since Ethan and Sophie exchanged vows in a small, intimate ceremony with only their closest family present. The honeymoon phase was still lingering, at least for Ethan. He couldn't have been happier. Life felt perfect, or so he thought. But one evening, while getting ready to go out for drinks with Sophie's best friend Tara, Sophie dropped a bombshell that sent his world spinning. It happened so casually that Ethan didn't even process it at first. "Hey, just so you know, Tara doesn't actually know that we're married," Sophie said nonchalantly as she adjusted her makeup in front of the mirror. Ethan, who was putting on his shoes, froze mid-lace. "Wait! What?" Sophie didn't look up from the mirror. "I never told her. She doesn't really believe in marriage, and I didn't want her to think I was one of those people, you know?" Ethan felt a cold rush of confusion wash over him. "What do you mean you never told her? We've been married for 6 months, Sophie. How can your best friend not know?" Sophie finally turned to face him, her smile fading just a bit. "I didn't think it was a big deal. She'd just make a fuss about it, and I didn't want to deal with that. Besides, it's not like it changes anything between us, right?" But it did. It changed everything for Ethan in that moment. He suddenly realized that Sophie wasn't just withholding information from Tara, she was living a lie. How could someone so close to them not know the most important detail of their lives? As they drove to the bar to meet Tara, Ethan couldn't stop the questions from flooding his mind. Why hadn't Sophie told her? Was there something deeper behind this decision? It didn't sit right with him, but he didn't want to make a scene before their night out. The bar was buzzing with laughter and loud music. Tara greeted them with her usual energy, hugging Sophie and giving Ethan a warm nod. The three of them sat down, but Ethan couldn't shake the discomfort gnawing at him. Throughout the night, Ethan noticed how easily Sophie slipped into the role of girlfriend rather than wife. She referred to Ethan as her boyfriend, and when Tara jokingly asked, "When are you two going to get hitched?" Sophie laughed it off like it was the most ridiculous idea in the world. Ethan's chest tightened. It was as though their marriage didn't exist in Sophie's world when she was with Tara. As the night wore on, Ethan found himself growing more distant, watching as Sophie avoided the truth every time it came close to the surface. When they finally left the bar, Ethan could no longer keep quiet. The moment the door to their apartment closed behind them, he turned to her, his voice strained with frustration. "Sophie, why are you lying to her? Why can't you just tell Tara the truth? Are you ashamed of me?" Sophie sighed heavily, her shoulders slumping as if she had expected this confrontation. "I'm not ashamed of you, Ethan. It's not about you. It's about her. Tara doesn't believe in marriage. She thinks it's a trap, and I didn't want her to think I'd changed, that I'd become boring." Ethan's mind raced. "But we're not just dating, Sophie. We're married. You can't pretend like it didn't happen because you're worried about what Tara will think. What about what I think? What? What about us?" Sophie looked away, her silence more telling than any excuse she could have made. Ethan knew in that moment that their marriage wasn't just being hidden, it wasn't being respected. His heart sank. A week passed, and the tension between Ethan and Sophie grew. They barely spoke, the unspoken rift widening between them. Ethan began questioning more than just Sophie's relationship with Tara. He began questioning their entire marriage. Did Sophie really love him? Or had their marriage been more about the idea of settling down than about true commitment? The final blow came when Tara invited Sophie and Ethan to her birthday party. It was a big event. Tara was throwing a lavish party at her apartment, and all of her closest friends were going to be there. Sophie was excited, chattering on about how fun it would be, but Ethan felt a sense of dread creeping over him. He knew that the same lies would continue. Sophie would once again pretend they weren't married, living out this charade for the sake of Tara's approval. When they arrived at the party, Ethan watched as Sophie seamlessly blended in with her friends, laughing, drinking, and, once again, referring to Ethan as her boyfriend. He felt like an outsider, a spectator in his own life. It wasn't until late in the evening, when the alcohol was flowing freely and Tara was in high spirits, that the conversation turned back to marriage. "So, Sophie," Tara slurred slightly, "when are you and Ethan gonna tie the knot? I always thought you'd be the last one of us to get hitched. You're too wild for that kind of thing, right?" Ethan's breath caught in his throat. He looked to Sophie, hoping, just hoping, that this time she would tell the truth. But instead, she laughed, brushing off the comment like it was nothing. "I don't know, maybe one day," she giggled. That was it. That was the moment Ethan knew he couldn't take it anymore. That night, after they returned home from the party, Ethan packed his bags. Sophie, still tipsy, watched him in confusion. "What are you doing?" she asked, her voice groggy and confused. "I'm leaving, Sophie," Ethan said quietly, his voice steady despite the storm of emotions raging inside him. "I can't do this anymore." Sophie's face paled as the realization hit her. "Wait, what?" "Ethan, come on. It was just a party. What's the big deal?" "The big deal?" Ethan repeated, his voice rising for the first time. "The big deal is that you've spent the last 6 months pretending we aren't married. The big deal is that you're more worried about what Tara thinks than about respecting our marriage. How can you expect me to stay with someone who can't even admit we're married to her best friend?" Sophie's eyes filled with tears, but she still didn't seem to grasp the weight of what he was saying. "I didn't mean to hurt you, Ethan. I didn't want things to change." "But they have changed," Ethan replied, his voice softening. "We're married now. And if you can't accept that, if you're ashamed of it, then maybe we shouldn't be together." Sophie reached for him, but Ethan pulled away. He couldn't stay. Not when the foundation of their relationship had crumbled beneath him. The days after Ethan left were a blur of heartache and self-reflection. For the first time in years, he was alone. But as painful as it was, he knew he had made the right choice. Trust and respect were the cornerstones of any relationship, and Sophie had shattered both. Weeks passed, and Ethan started to rebuild his life. He focused on his work, threw himself into his hobbies, and reconnected with old friends. The pain was still there, but it was slowly healing. As for Sophie, she reached out a few times, apologizing, begging for another chance. But Ethan knew they could never go back to the way things were. Too much had been broken. And that's how Ethan made the painful but necessary decision to walk away from a marriage that wasn't built on trust. What do you think? Was Ethan right to leave? Or should he have tried to make things work? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more captivating stories like this. Thank you for watching Heartstrings and Scandals. We'll see you next time. And remember, when the truth is buried, it always finds a way to come out. Final words. Never settle for less than you deserve. Love without trust is just an illusion.